It's always nice when you can find a good solid justification for buying some new power tools. Now, I already had this DeWalt 2¼ horsepower router, and now I have a Triton 3¼ horsepower router. What happened is that I was given the opportunity to cut up some very large red oak logs before somebody had the rest of them hauled off. And I brought home a large stack of 38-inch diameter rounds. And I guess I'm going to be making a lot of coffee tables or something later, but I brought my Granberg mill and my 36-inch bar and my chainsaw so that I could cleanly slice these things off into even layers so that I wouldn't have to do a lot of routing and flattening later. But unfortunately, a 36-inch bar and a Granberg mill will not get through a 38-inch log. So I have a lot of unevenly cut cookies, and I'm going to have to do a lot of flattening. I was going to do it with this 2¼ horsepower router, and I already had my Infinity Mega Dado and planer bit in there, and that would have done fine. I've used it for that kind of stuff before, but got to thinking that is going to be a lot of work for a 2¼ horsepower motor. It's just going to wear this down faster. So better option is to upgrade to a 3¼ I have not owned a 3¼ horsepower plunge router, a 3 horsepower plunge router, for quite a few years now. My first 3 horsepower router was a DeWalt, maybe 20-something years ago. I think I sold that when I moved or something, then I got another DeWalt. It was such a good router. And then I sold that at some point when I changed my router table, and I got a Porter Cable 3 horsepower motor in there now. And since then, Porter Cable has discontinued the 3 horsepower router, so I am stuck with a motor and no planer body. And I guess that thing is a collector item now. So anyway, I got this new Triton. This is a newer one, I think, at least in the United States. You might be used to seeing one that has the orange part a little bit shorter and it's a bit more rounded. It looks a little bit almost off-centered and lopsided, but this is the newer version of that one. This is the TRA002, and the one you may be used to seeing is the TRA001. And as I say here on the box, the world's best router has now evolved. And some of the new features are, I believe, electronic feedback control. Wood Magazine did a review of 3 horsepower routers a few years back, and the Porter Cable did not do so well with maintaining a consistent speed. Never been a problem for me, but I don't do a lot of like raised panel and extremely heavy routing, but apparently it was fluctuating a bit more, and newer routers, newer motors are just going to do a bit better with that anyway because of just modern electronics. So this is supposed to be upgraded in that regard. A few other things that I really like about it right off the bat are that the dust collection, if you're going to mount this in a router table, it's got this little shield here that actually goes around the shaft of the collet. Now, I get a ton of dust under my router table when I'm routing. I keep saying I'm going to build a box to go under there. I was going to prototype one out of cardboard, just like my miter saw box over there, but haven't done it yet. But this has this nice little shield right there, and then this part around the router bit. So when you're in a plunge situation or in a router table mounted situation, that's going to close up enough there so that you can get most of that under the table dust through this hose into a shop vac. So I think that's pretty awesome. And I also like that this one, I can get all the stuff out of the way here, will plunge down so that the collet is about 1/2 inch beyond the base. I think that's pretty cool. This, the DeWalt will go down just about flush, right about like that, but this one gives you that extra 1/2 inch. And when you're doing table routing, that conveniently also automatically locks the collet, so you can, there you go, so you can change bits without having to reach under the table to hold any kind of nut or to use the 2 wrenches like the Porter Cable. And it also gives you a little bit more reach if you're doing some slab flattening on your jig. It's nice to be able to get an extra 1/2 inch below the router base so that you can reach a little bit farther before you have to readjust your planing jig. And the DeWalt doesn't do that. And I checked, one of the other specs that I checked first was the distance of travel, and this actually travels a little bit less than some of the other routers. I think the Makita, the DeWalt, all went farther than this one. I don't think it really matters. At some point, you know, this thing is 3 feet tall. You don't have any router bits that long anyway. So I think my longest bit is 2.5 inches, and this will do 2 and I want to say 3/4, somewhere around 3/4. So it'll handle my longest router bit and keep it above the table, and it also gives me a little bit more reach below for when I'm doing some heavy slab flattening. Now, those are some of the things that I like. Overall, I would say that this planer rocks. And there's also something that I really don't like planer. This is a, man, I have done a lot of thickness planer videos. Router. This router rocks. And that is also something that I don't like about it. Now, right off the bat, I'm not sure if they are all like this or if I just got unlucky with a defect, but it literally rocks. The base is not flat. Notice the DeWalt. That is perfectly flat on the table. It's got some nice machined aluminum down there and that polycarbonate plate, and that sits perfectly flat. And this thing rocks like crazy. So every time I get a new tool, I got to play around with it and get familiar with everything. I am going to be sending this one back. Might get another just like it. I'm still undecided on that, but I want to show you the rocking thing. Ordinarily, I would not, right after buying a new tool, I would not post any kind of negative information about it because it might just be a defect. But I'm kind of thinking that this is not just a one-time defect. There might actually be a production issue that's going to affect more people. So I'm mentioning this so that if you got one of these or if you're thinking about getting one of these, that you can be ready for it and look out for it. So other than that, I think it's got some awesome features. So, first thing I did was take off this bottom plate because I thought maybe that plastic is warped or just poor quality. It is a little bit, actually another thing I don't like about it is that I can feel the lip there on this side, but on this side, it's the opposite way. So this plate is not perfectly centered on the metal. So because it's round, if you're doing a dado or something and you rotate the plane or rotate the router, I keep wanting to say planer, but this is a router that I will be using with a planer bit as a planer. So if you rotate the router while you're cutting a dado, you're going to actually change the distance from your guide fence because this thing doesn't perfectly center there. I wish it would have had a flat edge like this one does, because then you can ride that along your guide fence and you know that you're always indexing back on that same line there. All right, so back to the rocking part. I'm going to take off these screws so you can see what's going on here. And I thought maybe there was a piece of dirt or debris or something that got under there. So did a little troubleshooting because I did not want to send this back. I was so excited when this showed up at the house today. All right, 4 screws, remove the plate, and it sits perfectly flat. So that's not the issue. This piece in the middle here is the guide bushing ring. And this is kind of a new thing too, I think, with this model over the TRA001. This allows you to put guide bushings in here. These are for either aligning them or locking them in place. And then there's that metal ring. And you can take that off if you want to use a larger diameter bit. The problem is that ring sticks up farther than the perimeter of the cast aluminum base there. That's a steel ring in there. And it's not flat. So next step is to take that off to see what's going on the inside. Just 2 screws there. And once those 2 screws are out, you can remove the guide bushing plate. And well, it's not going to sit flat because it's got those little aligning nubs on the bottom. But if I put my flat edge on there, a straight edge on there. On that side, it's a little bit concave, and let's see right here. Yeah, that is not flat. A lot of times stamped steel plates are going to have a little bit of flex in them, or stamped aluminum or whatever, and the screw should flatten it back out. It's a nice heavy thick piece of steel. There are a few things on here that feel kind of cheap and plasticky, but this is a nice heavy piece of steel. It doesn't fit the standard guide bushings that I'm used to, the smaller ones, like the nice brass ones. These are for the Triton, I think, proprietary ones. But this thing does not fit in here. And one other thing to watch out for, almost got me the first time. This has an LED light on the bottom, which is kind of cool, and it's covered by a piece of metal that just falls off of there. So I almost lost that. I found this on the floor. I said, that doesn't look familiar. So looked around and found that it just goes right over that LED. So just be careful, because if that goes into a pile of sawdust, you will never see it again. All right, well, inside here, I don't feel anything protruding or any unevenness, and there is nothing sticking out on here, like, you know, some extra metal that got welded on there or something. This all feels pretty good, other than being a little bit bowed. Now, I will put this all back together so you can see that it was clean on the inside. And even if I push down on that all the way, I can feel that it's sticking up proud of this this lip right here a little bit. So something is wrong. I don't think it's a one-time defect. Either this is not machined down deeply enough, which, I mean, it doesn't look like it could be ground down anymore. There's not a lot of material there to begin with, or this thing is too thick. I'll put that back on. And the plastic plate. While I'm doing this, another thing to watch out for if you're thinking about buying one of these is that because it is pretty new, I think, there is not a lot of information on all of the websites. And you're going to see some different prices. Some of them, at least at the time I'm making this video, are selling this for around $330, $20, somewhere around that range. And there's also some other sites that are selling it for closer to $360. The difference is not just some places have better prices. The difference is that this model is what's referred to as the Bare, the TRA002 Bare, B-A-R-E. Doesn't say it on there, but it says it on the Triton site. That's how they market it on there. But there's not a lot of information like you know, user manual or anything on there. But even the Triton site isn't updated. That's how new this thing must be. So if you buy the Bare one, TRA002 Bare, that's around $230, it is not going to come with a case. It's not going to come with a fence. And it looks like they got a pretty good fence for this, so you can use it in like one of those tracks for you know, the circular saw things. It's getting late. I've been playing in here too much today. Anyway, the cheaper one is not going to come with that fence, so if you want a good fence later, you would have to buy that, and it's going to be more expensive that way. I thought I was getting a pretty good price on this. I just got lucky, and I think a lot of other people did too, because it sold out really quickly off of the site that I bought it from. And then when I received it, I realized that it was the Bare one that did not come with the fence, and I would have been happy to spend an extra $30 or so to get that really good fence. Oh, anyway, back together. You saw that there was no debris or anything in there, and it is still wobbly. That base is not flat. So really nothing that can be done to fix that. I mean, I tried taking off that guide bushing ring, and it's still, and just putting this the bottom plate back on without that ring in there, and it still wasn't flat because there's some rubber pieces underneath the columns that are kind of making it wobble too. So no way to fix that. I got to send it back to the store. Very sad. And just in case you were wondering, because I was too, DeWalt, this one says made in Mexico, and I know they do some assembly in the US, but a lot of the DeWalt stuff that I've gotten says it's made in Mexico. A lot of my other tools say Taiwan. A lot of the good power tools companies get their stuff from Taiwan. I mean, it's a lot of the same businesses. This one is made in China. And I suspect that may be part of the problem. You don't send power tools to China if you want the good stuff. I think the Triton may have diluted their brand a little bit by sending it to China. And it says it on here somewhere. There we go. It's over on the side. It doesn't even say made in China. It says made in PRC to Triton design specifications. And in case you didn't know, PRC stands for People's Republic of China, also known as China. So that's not usually where you get the best power tools from, and that may be part of the issue, I don't know. But I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm probably gonna get another one of these, and I will update either way down in the video description or in the top comment. I'll pin a comment up there if some information changes. If I get one that has a flat base, then I'll know that it was probably just a manufacturing defect and I got unlucky. But if I get another one and it wobbles, then I will know that in fact there might be a real production issue with this one. It's been about 2 weeks since I filmed the first part of this. I sent the first router back to Acme Tools, that's where I got it from. I just called them up and said that I received a router that has a base that is not flat. And the guy said, well, that seems pretty important for a router, so we'll get you a return label. I sent it back, got a refund, no big deal. Only problem is that they did not have any more in stock, so I had to go somewhere else. They were back ordered for a couple of months. I went to Woodcraft next and I ordered this one, and this time I got it with the case and with the fence. So cool, I got some new stuff there. Only problem is that first of all, the shipping company or somebody must have dropped it because the case was cracked on the inside, some metal parts were moving around, and that scratched up the base. The base plate has chips in it, the paint is scratched, and it also conveniently comes with the same cupped base. Unbelievable. So that's strike 2 for Triton, but I did notice, this was kind of odd, but the serial number on this one was only about 200 off from the serial number from my first one. So I don't know how many they produce in a day or how they do the numbering, but I assume it's sequential. It's got the date on there, and but I think the last 3 digits were only off by 200 from my first one. So maybe, just maybe, it was a bad day at the factory. Somebody miscalibrated a piece of equipment. It happens. I mean, you'll cut stuff on your table saw for weeks and everything looks great, and all of a sudden stuff just goes bad because you got some pitch on the blade or you hit a hidden nail or something. So something can go wrong in any kind of production environment, and maybe because of the similarity in those serial numbers, it was just a bad day at the factory. Somebody didn't sleep well, whatever. I'm going to give them a third chance. I am trying to send this one back to Woodcraft right now, which is taking a little bit longer than I expected. I initially asked if, since I have received 2 of these that are bad so far, if they would send the replacement expedited. And this doesn't come from Woodcraft, by the way. They have it shipped from the manufacturer. So I'm trying to return this to Triton through Woodcraft, taking a little bit longer that way. Well, I asked if they would expedite the replacement, and a day came and went and I hadn't heard back, and the weekend was approaching, so I said, I'm just going to order another one from Rockler. So now I have a third one of these routers on the way. Hopefully I'm going to be able to return this one pretty soon. I'm just waiting for that return label. And I'm going to give Triton one final shot with this router. And I got my fingers crossed. I like a lot of things about it, but I just want one with a base that is flat because that is the part of the router that contacts the wood. Pretty important for it to be flat. So we'll see how the third one goes, and let's just take a quick look at this one so you can see what I'm talking about. It is actually better than the first one, but it's still not flat. So I should not be able to do that by pushing down on the base with my thumb. Let's take a look on the inside. Now you can see where it got scuffed up a little bit here, and that is no fault of Triton's. I mean, if somebody dropped my work, it would get damaged as well. But that's not the only problem with this one. So take off that top or bottom plate, and this ring is the trouble again. I'm going to use my expensive square for this one, just so you know that this thing is straight. And you can kind of see this thing moving if I push down on the sides here. So it's not perfectly flat. And again, stamped steel, that might happen, but the screws are right here. Now, these screws cannot pull down that part. And I could probably bend it the other way so it would maybe clamp it down a little bit, but I should not have to. Oh, as long as this part, the cast aluminum base, was machined flat, then there's still hope. Take this off. We'll check to see if that is flat. All right. So this ring is higher than the outer ring. This inner ring is higher than the outer ring. And just to make sure it's not the square, I'm going to put this as a hardly ever used Incra square. That is an annoying sound to hear on the bottom of a router. So definitely not flat in any direction. So it is impossible for this thing to sit flat on the table. And once again, same problem with these rubber things sticking up. I think they could be pushed down in there, but why should they have to be? So, little quality control issues. This one is going back. Hopefully I don't have any pushback on that. And I will try again soon with a third router, and we will come to the conclusion of this story. It is one day later. It's a Monday now, and I'm starting my Monday with a return label from Woodcraft, which is good. And I also got my new router from Rockler, which I think is good. I hope is going to be good. This is exactly how it looked sitting on my porch. I kind of leaned over like that. So I'm a little bit nervous about opening this thing up, but I'm going to film the whole thing because Not taking any chances this time. This is how it looked on my porch. I'm going to open it up. You can see everything. And then we'll check to see if the base is flat. A couple things to note. This is the old one. This has got to get boxed up and sent back to Woodcraft in the box that it came in, or back to Triton, I guess I should say. This one says right down here 28 of 462, and this one says 237 of 462, and I don't know what that means. It's just a number, so I'm pointing it out. This was leaning on the handle there, so it might just be that it shifted around. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with it. But we're going to open this up and take a look inside. And man, I am a little bit nervous right now. The packaging just doesn't look great. But I mean, I think that's the idea of having a hard case in there, is that you should be able to trust that the tool is going to be protected in that hard case. So here we go. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And serial numbers for the first one and the second one, because I'm kind of curious what the serial number for this one is going to be. A little bit dusty, but it doesn't look damaged so far. And here is the big moment. Nervous, 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 nervous. So far, so good. And actually, it's all scratched up around here already. I think it's just how they package these things with I don't know what it is. All right, the wrench came out of the side, so I guess this has been flopping around in there. Paint scratch. Come on and take a look. You just roll this thing up here. I am not turning off the camera. We're filming this straight through. All right. So here is the inside of the box right here. This is the fence right there. Let me make sure this can be, see all that? Yeah, good, okay. That piece of cardboard is supposed to protect it. Now this wrench is supposed to go down in the side there. That came loose. And all right, you can see it's kind of scratched up all along here, like something's been flopping around inside that case. So maybe that is maybe that's from the wrench that was moving around. I don't think it's from the fence. That's got scratches around the base. The base plate, yeah, little nick in the base plate right there. The paint's scratched. They just don't do a good job packaging these things. I mean, this is a freshly opened box, so let's see what we got farther on the inside. Oh man, that is unbelievable. All right, this case is not broken, but look at that. This thing is all scratched up down there. So I don't know what only thing I can see that would have been moving around. All right, maybe the collet. The collet might have been moving around, or that wrench. But all right, that's disappointing. I don't like spending 350 something, 75, whatever it was, the tax dollars on a router to get it all scratched up like that. So. This is frustrating. I hate to go back to Triton for a third time, and I mean I think I'm done at this point. We'll see what they say. I'm curious what their response is, but I'm kind of frustrated right now. Probably done with Triton. This is the first Triton tool that I have ever bought, and I was really excited about it, and they have not impressed so far. All right. Well, let's at least check to see if the bottom of this is flat, because that's, well, let's see, we can do it first without putting the square on it. It's not. 3 routers in a row. Oh, serial number. All right, let's see what we got here. Man, unbelievable. All right, we got 2021 3 1 0 0 0 3 9. So the serial number on this router apparently fell in between that line and that line, so that'd go right here. 008, 039, and 214. So this whole batch is a mess. All right, let's see. Let's just take this off and see in there. I mean, this router is no good to me, but let's just take off the bottom and have a look. Let me get this around so you can see it. Sorry for the mediocre filming. There we go. Now, look at that. Are you kidding me? That's a different screw. I got 3 black screws and a non-painted screw. This might be returned already. Somebody else might have returned this. Well, this just gets worse by the minute. Seriously, I wanted to give this a fair shot. I don't buy tools because I want them to fail. I wanted to get a good router and flatten my pieces of oak. Now I'm just going to have to leave those things in their slab form. Maybe I can find an eccentric software engineer who wants to buy that stack of oak as is as a 2,000 pound database icon. Some of you will get that joke. All right, let's see. This plate is actually, well, okay, it's warped like the other one too. That's a little bit flatter, I think. Yeah, it's still got a little bit of flex in it. So the plate doesn't sit flat again, and I shouldn't be surprised again because it's from the same serial number series in between the other 2 that weren't right. But I will take this off and just check one last time if this part is flat. Using the Incra square again, perfectly clean. And it is not. Well, there it is. A little bit off right there. On that way it is not. Definitely is not. There's a high spot right here or a low spot right there or something. So, well, all right. That is the end of my review of the Triton TRA002 router. I cannot recommend that you buy it until they fix the production issues. Now, I'll see if Triton has a response on this. I'm sure they will, and they did offer, to be fair, with the Woodcraft one, when they finally responded to my request for an expedited shipment, they said that they would send a router and have it personally inspected by a technician before it was sent to me, just to make sure that everything was right. But I had already ordered the one from Rockler, so that wasn't going to happen. I will probably contact them about this, but as of right now, I'm really not digging this router anymore. My infatuation with it is over, and I'm looking for something else. So if anybody has any recommendations about a good router, please let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful.